He was the wisest god who ever lived. So how did a young goddess sit him down with a jug of beer and walk out with the soul of civilization? By dawn, the storehouse of the gods stood empty, and Enki was on his knees, screaming at the sea. Forgotten Pantheon, the myths, the world was never taught. Long before kings, before cities even had names, the world was a half-built thing. People lived, but they had no law, no throne, no music to mark a wedding or a death. All of it, every power that turns a cluster of mud huts into a civilization already existed. It just wasn't theirs yet. It belonged to one god. His name was Enki, Lord of the sweet waters, god of wisdom, and of the clever trick. He lived in Eridu, the oldest city there was, in a shining house built out over the deep Abzu. And inside that house he kept a treasure no god had ever bothered to count twice. They were called the May. Say it like May. The divine decrees. Over 100 of them, the building blocks of absolutely everything. Kingship was one of them. So was the holy priesthood, truth, the art of writing, the torch, and the kindling of fire, even the descent into the underworld and the long climb back out. Music, war, the making of decisions, the craft of the shepherd, the smith, the scribe, the rites of love, the rites of the gods themselves. More than 100 powers in all, the complete instructions for being human. And Enki kept every last one of them locked in Eridu, guarded, hoarded, nowhere near the world of ordinary people. He wasn't cruel about it. He was just wise, and the wise are careful with power. Which is exactly why what happened next should have been impossible. Far to the north sat a younger city, Uruk, and Uruk had a goddess of its own. Inanna, goddess of love, goddess of war, beautiful, brilliant, and nowhere near satisfied. Her city was small, its temple was plain. When the great gods spoke of great places, they never once said her name. And Inanna could not live with that. Eridu has everything, the arts, the crown, the law, and what does my city have? Mud and a decent view. She wanted them, the decrees, the powers, the whole shining hoard. The old man kept locked beneath the sea. But nobody takes anything from Enki by force. He is the god who outthinks the room. Armies, monsters, rival gods. He had unraveled them all without lifting his voice. So Inanna didn't bring an army, she brought herself. She bathed, she darkened her eyes, she put on the horned crown, the lapis at her throat, and the 8-pointed star a person can see from the ground. Then she pointed her little boat south toward Eridu, toward the most careful god in all creation. He loves me. He has always loved me. But see what the old man gives a girl who comes all this way just to see him. She was smiling when she said it. That should have been his first warning. Enki saw her boat while it was still a speck on the water. I am the god of wisdom. Did the one thing a wise god never should. He got excited. Easy mood. My minister Inanna is coming alone. All the way to my house? Easy mood was Enki's right hand, a strange creature with two faces. One looking forward, one looking back. He missed nothing. Quick, bake the butter cakes, pour the cold water and the beer. Bring out the good beer, the strong stuff, and do not let her cup run dry. We will make her welcome. So they laid a feast at the very edge of the sweet water. Lamb roasting cakes stacked warm, and beer poured into heavy bronze cups and poured again. Inanna stepped off her boat, looking lovely and a little weary, like a traveler grateful for a place to sit. Uncle, you shouldn't have all of this for me. For you, anything at all? Sit, drink. You have come such a very long way. And there it was, the most careful god in the world, pouring the strongest beer in the world. For a guest who had traveled a very long way precisely to watch him drink it. They drank. Cup for cup, the goddess matched him. And here is the part nobody in Eridu understood until far too late. Inanna could hold her drink, Enki could not. By the third jug, his face was warm, his tongue had come loose, and the whole world had become his dearest friend. And a drunk man holding the keys to creation wants more than anything to show them off. You want to see what your uncle has? Little one, let me show you what I have. He lifted his cup to her, and then he started handing it all away. In the name of my power, I give you the high priesthood. I give you godship itself, the noble enduring crown, the throne of kingship. Take them. They are yours. I'll take them. And she did. She had them carried straight down to her boat, the boat of heaven, waiting at the quay and stowed below the deck. More, why not take the art of truth? Take the descent to the underworld and the climb back out. Take the office of the priest. Drink, drink. Take all of it. I'll take them. Cup after cup, gift after gift, the wisdom of the heart, the making of decisions, the craft of the scribe, the smith, the singer. He gave away music. He gave away war. He gave away the rights of love and the settling of quarrels. 7 times he poured. 7 times he gave. And every single time, that quiet voice across the table said the same 3 words. I'll take them. By the time the last jug ran dry, the entire storehouse of Eridu, the hoard no god had ever counted twice, was sitting in the hold of Inanna's boat. And Enki lay grinning up at the ceiling, proud as he had ever been in his life. Generous, beloved, and finished. The Inanna did not stay for breakfast. The while Enki slept it off, slumped and snoring against his own throne, she quietly untied the boat of heaven. No, goodbye, no thank you. Just the soft push of a pole against the dock, and the current taking her north, toward Uruk, toward home. And under her feet, in the belly of that boat, lay everything that makes a world worth living in. The crown of kings, the first written word, the torch, the song, the law itself. She had arrived with an empty hull. She was leaving with civilization. Push off gently, let the old man sleep. The sun came up over the marshes, the water turned to gold, and lay flat and calm. And back in his shining house by the sea, the wisest god in creation began very slowly to wake up. It came back to him in pieces. The beer, the laughing, that quiet voice saying, yes, and yes, and yes. Enki turned to the alcove where the decrees were kept. The next one, empty. The next, empty. Every shelf in the house swept clean. Easy mood. Where is the throne of kingship? Where is the high priesthood? Where is truth? Where is the descent to the underworld? Easy mood. Where are they all? And his two-faced minister, who had watched the whole thing happen, answered him with both mouths at once. My king, you gave them last night to your daughter, Inanna, every one of them, with your own hand. For one long moment, the god of wisdom said absolutely nothing. He had outwitted every being that ever lived, and he had just been robbed blind by a guest. He poured the drinks for himself. Then the sweet water of the Apozu began to boil. Bring it back. Take whatever you need from the deep, but you bring my boat of heaven home to me. And up out of the dark came the things that live below wisdom, the Lahama, seaborne monsters of the Abzu, the Enkum, giants of the watery deep. Enki pointed north, after a girl in a boat, and he sent his whole drowned army to take back the world. Inanna's boat was already far up the river when the water behind her turned black. At the first landing, they rose, the Lahama, dripping and enormous, reaching for the hull. Inanna, my master Enki has sent me. He says the boat of heaven stays here. You may walk on to Uruk, but the decrees come home. And the goddess did not even get to her feet. My father gave me these, with his own mouth, in his own house. Has Enki started lying? Is that something the god of truth does now? But the monsters did not care about the argument. They closed on the boat anyway. And that is when her own minister stepped forward, Nin Shubur, loyal ninja boar who had followed her mistress every mile of the way. She lifted her hand, and she did not give one step of ground. You heard the goddess. He gave them freely. Now crawl back to your master and tell him so. She struck the sea monsters back into the river and hauled the boat of heaven free. So Enki sent more. At the second landing, giant fish. At the third, the Onkum with their grinding stone teeth. Then the watchmen of Eridu, wave after wave after wave. 50 monsters. 100, the entire strength of the deep, sent to claw back what a drunk god had given with both hands. And every single time, at every single landing, faithful Nin Shubor met them and threw them back. 7 stops, 7 battles, 7 times the boat of heaven slipped loose, still loaded, still sailing north. The wisest god in the world threw everything he had at one small boat. And he could not stop it. Because a promise is a promise, even a drunken one, and Inanna had witnesses, and a servant who would have died before she let go of that rope. Uruk saw her coming from a long way off. The word ran ahead of the boat. The goddess is home, and she is not empty-handed. They lined the white way, the whole city of them, as the boat of heaven came in off the river and kissed the stone. And Inanna began to unload. Out came the throne of kingship, and Uruk had its kings. Out came the written word, and scribes bent over wet clay, and the city began for the first time to remember itself. The law, the temple rites, the loom and the forge, the reed pipe and the drum. One by one she lifted the powers out of that boat and set them down in the streets of a human city, and the half-built world finished building itself. Let it be written, everything Enki gave Inanna carried to Uruk. Let the people remember who brought it home. They threw a festival that ran for days, the first true city in the world, drunk on its own beginning. And far to the south, in an empty house beside the sea, an old god sat among bare shelves and listened to the silence. He had guarded those powers since, before the first person drew breath, and he had handed them, laughing, to a girl with a steady hand and a very long memory. Wisdom had been beaten, not by a stronger god, by a smarter guest. And now there was only one question left that mattered. What does the wisest god in the world do when he has finally completely lost? Tears where you expect a war. The wronged god raises a flood, drowns the upstart city, takes back his treasure and his pride. That is what a strong god would do. But Enki was never the strong one. He was the wise one, and wisdom did the strangest thing of all. It stopped. Enki sat in his hollow house and thought it through the way he thought through everything. The decrees were in Uruk now, in the hands of people who would actually build with them. Kings, scribes, singers, judges. A whole city learning how to be a civilization. If he tore it all back, the world stayed a mud village forever. If he let it go, the world grew up. Then let them stay in Uruk. Let her keep them. The girl carried them further than I ever did. And the god of wisdom did the one thing his pride was screaming against. He blessed the boat that had robbed him. He sent his word north, not a curse this time, a peace. The Maya belonged to Uruk now, and to the people in it for good. That is, the part the word cunning never bothers to tell you. Inanna was clever enough to take civilization. But Enki was wise enough to let it go. And that is the only reason it ever reached us at all. So no, Enki never got them back. He could have. He was wiser than the goddess who tricked him, and stronger than the city that kept his treasure. But he let it go anyway. And every king, every song, every written line that came after, all of it floated home in a stolen boat. That is the secret, the Sumerian poets buried in the story. Civilization didn't come to us as a tidy gift handed down from on high. It came as a trick, a drinking game. A wise man too proud to admit he'd been played, until he chose instead to simply be generous about it. So tell me, was Inanna a thief? Or was she exactly the kind of bold the world had been waiting for? I genuinely want to know. Say it in the comments. Next time we go back further still. Before Enki, before Inanna, before there was even a sky, to the mother of everything, and the grandson who cut her in half to build the world. That story is coming. Forgotten Pantheon, new myths every week. Subscribe so the gods don't forget you.